At OPTAVIA, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The following audio contains personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the OPTAVIA community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope these stories inspire you to continue your journey with or join OPTAVIA, but please note that they have not been verified and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider or doctor prior to beginning your journey with OPTAVIA. Additionally, this audio may contain income or earnings representations of some independent OPTAVIA coaches. The stories shared reflect the unique experience of a very small percentage of OPTAVIA coaches and should not be relied upon by prospective or current OPTAVIA coaches as an indication of what they should expect to earn. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with OPTAVIA results from successful sales efforts which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. OPTAVIA acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to OPTAVIA coaches in the US, Hong Kong, and Singapore. For OPTAVIA coaches operating in the US, please see the OPTAVIA Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual earnings of US coaches under the US Compensation Plan. Please note that the Income Disclosure Statement only applies to independent OPTAVIA coaches operating in the U.S. under the U.S. Compensation Plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan.
Well, hello and welcome. Welcome everybody to Health and Hope Night. My name is Dr. J.C. Dornick, and I will be your host tonight. It's an honor and a privilege. We're just going to let some folks file in here. You know, we welcome you to engage in one of the coolest parts of our program, and that's our community. There should be a chat feature for you. Why don't you just chime in and let us know where you're from? Our Health and Hope is reaching all over the country and internationally as well. So let us know where you're from. And we just welcome all of you into our room. Might be a good time if somebody you know that's on your heart needs to be here, go ahead and let them know, because Dr. JC is giving everybody a couple of seconds to just file into our room before we kick it off. Hey, I'll tell you something. This is a very exciting night, an exciting opportunity ahead of you. I remember 14 years ago when I had an experience like this, so I will share a little bit about my story. But just think about it. It's called Health and Hope Night. Something that I think we are all very much looking for and in need. And we have some very, very special stories here tonight. Tugs at my heart because I know these folks personally and I've watched them, you know, just transform masterfully. So you've got a wonderful, wonderful night ahead of you. But without further ado, I want to just welcome everybody. And once again, my name is Dr. J.C. Dornick. I'm an independent certified OPTAVIA coach. And it's been that way for almost 14 years now. And, you know, just quickly, a little bit about my story. You can see that I've had quite a transformation 14 years ago as a health professional and a full-time chiropractor, which I practiced for about 17 years. You know, you see that picture top left, and you can see that my transformation began in the middle. And, you know, what's interesting about that picture is I never woke up and decided, I don't know about you, but I never woke up and decided that I was going to like set a goal to get overweight, right? My life and my lifestyle and everything was in chaos. And, you know, from a transparent place, you know, at the time I was a workaholic, probably working 80 hours a week and going through a failed marriage. So naturally I was looking to feel better and food was there for me. And I'm sure you can relate. When I found this program, you know, it just came as a blessing. And, you know, my first access to it was in the realm of getting my body healthy. And as you can see, I began to transform masterfully. But what you're going to learn tonight is our program is very unique, and it's got a lot of components to it that I had never experienced before when I used to fail. at all my runs. So it wasn't until I engaged in the full 4 components of the program, which you're going to learn a little bit about tonight, that I really started to step into this new transformed version of myself, one little healthy habit at a time. And some of these pictures that you see here that are really, really special to me, it's kind of like my after picture, which I never thought possible. That's me with my son as the head coach of his football team, which before I became a coach, that wasn't a reality because I worked about 90 hours a week as a doctor. And that's me being there for my son in a special moment. In the middle there, that's me speaking to our just emerging audience and all these transformers out there at one of our conventions. And just unbelievable that I have that opportunity. I'm wearing the same glasses right now that I have in that picture. And I will say results not typical, but my beautiful wife and I, love of my life, we are finally adopting our dream child. And that's our little Lexi there in that picture. So transformation comes in all sizes and shapes. So tonight, what you have to look forward to tonight, our agenda, is we always break it down into mindset, skill set, and action. So, our mindset is going to be about awakening to the secrets of lifelong transformation. Our moniker is lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. And then in the skill set area, we're going to learn how to decide to move forward, which is an interesting to think about, in your health from people who have successfully created it. So you're going to hear from these special people. And then, as you know, we can have the mindset and the skill set, but we've got to take action. We're going to learn some very simple steps, some micro steps, some micro habits that we can begin to move forward in our journey towards this bigger picture of optimal health. So just please interact with us just for a second. We have a poll up right now. Which answers your scenario best right now? Are you one of our independent OPTAVIA coaches, which is also a client? Our coaches are clients as well. I'm a coach and a client. Or are you just one of our blessed clients that are in some form of transformation? Or are you a guest, somebody new, just like me 14 years ago? That's just coming to check this out and see if our solution matches your problem. So if you could just let us know that, it gives us a gauge of who we're talking to. So very, very special man here. This is our fearless leader and just visionary, Dr. Wayne Scott Anderson. I had the blessing of being mentored and coached by him. That's him with his daughters. And that's what he used to look like with that lab coat on. He was a full-time practicing medical doctor back then. He was valedictorian of his medical class. This is a very, very special individual. He was trained in open heart surgery at Cleveland Clinic. He's the 10th board, think about this for a second. He was the 10th board certified critical care physician. Imagine what a critical care physician knows about the healthcare industry, right? Surgical critical care director for Grandview Hospital, department chair of anesthesiology for 18 years. So Dr. A knows what the problem is. He worked downstream. So we always say he left critical care because he critically cared. And he made a decision a long time ago to pack up his family and swim upstream at what he saw the real problem was. He didn't want to catch bodies anymore. And that is things like emotional mismanagement and lifestyle challenges and things like that. So what a wonderful individual that we all have the ability to kind of ride on the coattails of. So here are the statistics. I won't read them all because you can just look out your window and in some cases look in the mirror. I was a statistic, but it's no secret that worldwide obesity has nearly tripled since 1975. And you're watching this on the tail end, hopefully, of the pandemic. And we don't even know what's happened there, but sedentary lifestyle and all that stuff. So, this worldwide statistic is very, very much known. Most of the world's population live in countries where overweight and obesity actually kills more people than underweight. So you can see those statistics. And in America alone, look at this, almost a third of adults with partners, 31%. Report that money is actually a major source of conflict and relationship. And I wonder how that plays in. I know for me, I told you I was working 90 hours a week, right? I didn't have time for myself. So the statistics are right out there, and we're all subject to them. I always like to look at this world that we live in, and if you back up and look at it without being in an environment, a structure like this, it's not really set up to our advantage, if you know what I mean. So that's the problem, and we're going to talk a little bit about a solution. But before I do that, one of the special components, and where there's 4 components, and we'll get into that, is the behavior modification and what we call our habits of health transformation system. When you sign up as a program, our clients all receive what you're looking at right here, an interactive app and a life book, a workbook to work through over a year yourself. I didn't know that I was going to be on a personal growth, self-discovery journey. And then there's Dr. A's Habits of Health. Just as a side point, when you get this book, or if you have it, turn to page 475 and you can read my story. But what I want to do is pull one of my favorite elements from that life book, and that is element 4, which talks about a healthy mindset. And when I first started off with this program, I didn't know how to answer this question. So this just gives you an example. This goes far, far past the idea of eating and losing weight and even just getting healthy. A lot of people realize that health happens in the 6 inches between our ears. And I think everybody can understand that. And I always looked at, there's health conscious people and health unconscious. Well, I was health unconscious because I didn't decide to be unhealthy. But who is responsible for your current health and well-being? Well, it's you. It's you. Nobody else. It's you. It's not your doctor. It's the person in the mirror. So out of element 4, just to give you a quick little review, because it goes far past this, we teach our clients just to become self-aware. That's one of the greatest things that you can accomplish when you're on a health journey, is to become conscious, right? People, we say, are either below the line or above the line. When we're below the line, we're closed, defensive. We want to be right. And I'm sure you know what it's like to be that kind of a victim. But when we're above the line, we see things differently. We kind of like take a little bit of time to pull from the logical, rational part of our brain. So this is part of the communication tool that we use with our clients. So sometimes our clients will tell us, hey, I'm a little bit below the line. I just want you to know that it's okay to be above or below the line. What we're teaching people is how to become conscious. Now, just a little bit further, when you're below the line, we learn, and this is a pretty powerful thing. You might walk away from this tonight just with this. Below the line, when you're closed, you enter what's called the drama triangle. And as you can see, we're all kind of playing in the drama triangle, either as a victim, it's being done to me, it's not fair. Or maybe, as a villain, whose fault is it? Who can I blame for this? Or maybe you even playing the role of the hero, not focusing on yourself and trying to save others, and maybe even enabling victims. So that's the drama triangle. So when you move above the line, and this program helps us do that, because we become empowered, become the dominant forces in our lives when we start enriching ourselves. I always say that on a healthy body rests a healthy mind. The empowerment triangle is a place where you become the creator. You actually become the challenger. You challenge things first, and I'll show you a little exercise we teach people. Or you even become the coach. I mean, I became a health coach, and a lot of people do decide to pay it forward, but that's part of the empowerment, is to take what you're going through and empower others. So let's look at an amazing tool that we teach our clients, and this we call Stop, Challenge, Choose. And this is part of that action step. So what you're looking at is when something happens, right? Let's just call it a happening. Something happens. Something always happens, right? We could just say stuff happens, right? But when something happens, you have 2 choices. One of them is to drift away and let your knee-jerk reaction take you potentially into the drama triangle. And that's okay. And we do that a lot. I still have a tendency of going to the drama triangle. But the problem with that is that's the scenic route back to becoming present and getting back on track. And I think you all resonate with that. Or what we teach is we teach something called Stop, Challenge, Choose. So just imagine something happens, and before you react, you stop yourself and challenge it. Is this in support of where I want to go? Is this something that's in my control or out of my control? And gain access. It's called cognitive distancing. Gain access to the rational part of your brain that makes decisions and said, hey, wait a second, I'm going on a health journey right now. That cake or pizza has nothing to do with that. So there's just an example of some of the elements we help people with. And as I said before, our program has four components. And that's what makes our program unique, everybody. So our four components are all making the successful formula. Right? They're each 25%. And that's not normal for people that are used to going on things like diets. You know, it's no wonder that diets don't have a great track record. So the four components that we offer our clients is they get an independent coach, somebody like me or somebody like the person that invited you here tonight, that's going to actually guide you down a path that they've walked before. Like I mentioned before, you're going to get the behavior modification, the mind component, the habits of health transformational system, which is just revolutionary. You might not be ready for it in the beginning, but we say transforming a life one healthy habit at a time. So as you start your journey, you start to work through your life book and rewrite your story in essence. Then we have the community. You're experiencing a little bit of community right now. I might even just offer everybody that is in our community right now to just, say something positive, give a little bit of grace to the program in the chat right now so people can see what it is. Like maybe you just answer this question. What does the community mean to you in OPTAVIA? Because, we're better together, and we call it our optimal health community. And then naturally we have our OPTAVIA fuelings and our amazing program that provides structure and just makes the process of calories, the frequency that we eat, nutrition, and all of that stuff just goof proof. So as you can imagine, that's why we're getting great results. So here is another poll as we get ready to introduce one of our first guests. Which one of the four components are most valuable to you? Think about that. Which one of the four components are valuable to you? Select all that apply. So remember what the four components were. So just select one. You should see the poll up there, and we're going to actually be able to see those results. So please just interact with that. So it gives me great pleasure. This is a very special individual that I'm going to welcome here. Her name's Katie Scarborough. She's from Colorado. Excited to know that we might be neighbors soon. But Katie's just amazing. Katie's going to talk about the healthy body component right now. And, as somebody that's played a role in coaching Katie, it goes way, way further than her amazing transformation. But I know her family, and I just love her children, and she knows that. And they're her inspiration. So Katie, if you could come out here and just share with us, we'd love it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, JC. I'm just so honored to be here and share my story with you all. My name is Katie Scarborough, and I'm not only an independent certified OPTAVIA coach, but I'm a wife. I'm a mom to two littles, and I live in the great state of Colorado, as JC mentioned. So, it's funny because I look at this picture of myself here on the left, and it brings back a lot of just old feelings and memories. I was smiling on the outside, but really, really struggling on the inside. I was a new mom. I had zero energy, no confidence, and was absolutely exhausted. I remember waking up most mornings, just counting down the hours until my kids would nap so I could take a nap as well. Most of my life was spent doing, you name whatever diet you can name out there, was doing. I was that chronic yo-yo dieter. I was always really great about losing the weight, yet also really great at gaining it right back a couple months later. And I knew that I needed something if I wanted to be active and present in my kids' lives. And so one of my best friends was on program at the time, and I started asking her questions and started to get really intrigued that she had a coach to help guide her. She had a whole system in place to change, to help change her habits. The nutrition part of the program was really, really easy, which was what I needed, being a busy mom on the go all the time, having kids. So she put me in contact with her coach, and I'm not going to lie, I was super, super skeptical, thinking to myself, yeah, I have failed at everything else that is out there. How in the world is this going to be any different than what I've done before? But I jumped in. I said yes, because I knew that I had to. And I tell you what, I'm so, so grateful that I did. I loved having the accountability and the guidance from my coach, a true system that helped me change my habits, an amazing community, and a super, super easy nutrition program that just made my life so much easier. I lost 42 pounds, but I didn't just transform physically. I really changed on so many other different levels, like mentally and emotionally. My family got my husband got a new wife, my kids got a new mom, and my kids have learned healthier habits for themselves. I have way more energy, way more confidence than I ever did, more, really, truly more meaning to be around for the people that you saw in that picture of my family, my husband and my two kids, that picture on the right. And those are who matter the most to me. I became a coach in April of 2018 because I knew what I had in my hands was really special. And it's given me the opportunity to help people completely, transform their lives, just like it did for me. And I'll leave you with this. My son the other night, it was so cute. Right now, he's talking about community helpers in school. And he turned to me and he goes, "Mom, I think you're a community helper with OPTAVIA." He's 4. Okay. He's like, "I think you're a community helper with OPTAVIA because you're helping people get healthy." And just to hear him say that just touched my heart. I lit up, because that's what I get to do now. I get to help people become a better version of themselves so that they can be around for their families. So thank you for allowing me to share, and I'll turn it back to you, JC.
That's one thing I can tell you, and this would be that first component. But we really get to know these folks and their families, and it's a good kind of sad when you hear the stories and stuff about people just becoming empowered. So thank you so much, Katie. That was beautiful. So here are the poll results that we got regarding the components. So you can just tell, what's interesting about that is we all have our own starting point, right? We all have this place that, we all want everything. We all want to be happier, healthier, and wealthier in life, but we all have our thing that's most valuable. So take a look at that. And it's just so interesting to see the diversity. And I'm sure you see a couple things in there that you weren't really cognizant of before. So now we're going to kind of move into the healthy mind concept, but we always work from something called the Trilogy wheel. So this is a really cool, you might even want to screenshot this, but when you start working with your coach, you're going to start interacting in ways that you're probably not used to. So if you look, we call this the Trilogy of Optimal Health because we're looking at the full body, healthy mind, right? We were talking about the mind and those 6 inches between the ears, but also healthy finances. I don't think we talk about that. I sure didn't as a doctor, but right now we're going to go into the mind component. And we're going to actually give you an opportunity to think about this for yourself. But just take a look at that picture right there. And just, if you were to rate yourselves, would it surprise you that there's some areas of your life that, probably need some attention as well? So get ready for this, everybody. We're going to get into healthy mind, and you're about to hear a story that is just very, very real. Just one of my favorite human beings. Well, they're all my favorite human beings, I'll say this, but this is Emily Kelsey. She's also an independent certified OPTAVIA coach, and she's just got an amazing story that she's going to share. And it's just such a privilege that she's here. So Emily, come join us and take it away.
Thank you so much, JC. I'm honored and just really super privileged to be a part of this call. So as JC said, I am an independent certified OPTAVIA coach, but I'm also a wife, a mother of 3 adult daughters, and now 3 beautiful grandchildren. It took me, I have had quite a struggle in my life with my weight. I mean, as you can see in this photo, my before picture, that's me, about 43 years old. I had already had my 3 kids, and I had, as I said, a lifelong struggle with my weight. Grew up in a home, I'm number 9 of 10 kids. So I grew up in a home, that's not the reason why I grew up in a home with emotional mismanagement, but it was a home with a load of emotional mismanagement. Things that went on that I knew I couldn't control. I was just a small child. But as things went on, I had a lot of anxiety as a little kid. I can remember my weight issue began at the age of 5. I can remember feeling that chubby little kid. It was the early 70s, and not everybody was a chubby kid. So anyway, and I don't blame my family for anything that have experienced, but I did have a lot of anxiety as a kid, and so I found food to be my comfort. It was my love. It was my happiness. We didn't have a lot growing up because I was number 9 of 10 kids, but I found a way to find food. I would steal it. I would hide with it. I would sneak around and, find a way to stuff down my feelings with the food. And I didn't know any other way. That was my comfort. So fast forward to present time, about 3 years ago, I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I tried everything in my life to be a healthy person, to lose weight and to, change my body because I didn't like the way I looked and felt. I never liked the way I looked and felt. I look at photos from when I was a small child and I still cringe. But anyway, 3 years ago, I began the program. It started in July of 2018. I had no idea what I was getting into. All I wanted to do was lose 25 to 40 pounds. I ran into a friend of mine in our local CVS store, and we had a conversation. She tells me she was a health coach. I was like, what does that mean? And how can you help me? And bam, that's how it began. I started the 5-in-1 program just like everyone else does. Got my food in order, and I thought, okay, I got this. I'm in control. I feel like I have a little bit of empowerment here. And my coach told me from the beginning to dream bigger and keep dreaming bigger. And I was like, why am I going to dream bigger? I just want to lose weight, And I found out very quickly that this is not just a weight loss program. This is a personal development program. And what the heck was that? I still didn't know, but I was going with it. I would plug into all the community calls that were available to me. Go to meetings and meet with people and other coaches. And I just fell in love with the community. To getting the food thing under control, which, like I said, led to feelings of empowerment for me. I did, as JC said earlier, in element 4, which is now where I live. I lived then in the drama triangle before I lost my weight because I just didn't know how to handle things. So I would be the victim, and then I would also be the hero, and then I would also be, blame people for things that were going on in my life. I didn't know how to handle my emotions. So I was angry a lot, or I was that one who was trying to be super happy to help everyone and make everyone happy in my family. I was trying to raise my kids in a healthy, happy environment. Really didn't know how. They're grown now, like I said, but I did the best that I could. And now having these feelings of being under control, I realize now it's because of the program. I did the things. I went through the motions. I read the book. And what happened? That burned. Weight came off. And I just, I learned about this thing called emotional intelligence. And I didn't know what that was. It was just, so I worked on that part of my life, this emotional intelligence. And I just got stronger. And as I kept going and going, I got more and more empowered. And then people wanted to do what I was doing. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I became a coach. And it's just been a roller coaster of amazing emotions and feelings in me that I have been able to, one, get in control of my own emotions, stop stuffing my feelings with food and change my body in the process. And it's just been an amazing journey. I feel so much more fulfilled. I am happy in the now. I can experience things that are happening now and not worry about what happened when I was a 5-year-old child, and not worry about what could possibly happen in the future. I'm no longer afraid of what might happen because I'm better equipped. I have the tools that I need to cope, to get through the everyday stresses. Through my journey, I had 4 deaths in my family, including my father, and a very young nephew, who it was a complete shock. Sister of mine died of a heart attack, and I knew I needed to really get in control of these things that were going on, of my emotions. I had all the excuses I could. In the book, nobody would have blamed me for quitting because all these things were happening. My dog died, my cat died, all these things. And then towards the end of my journey, the most amazing things happened. My first granddaughter was born prematurely, so that was scary as heck, but I continued. I plugged through. I continued strong in my program, coaching my clients, and that's what kept me going. And just recently had my second, third grandchild, the twins there in the picture. They were also born premature and under really scary circumstances, but here I am, still strong, still going through program. So that's really all I have to share as part of the Healthy Mind portion. If I didn't have this program, I'd still be nearly 300 pounds, and I would never have been able to articulate any of this in front of a camera, in front of a crowd, potential crowd of people watching. So I thank you for listening to my story, and it's just been an amazing journey.
Wow. I know her story, but God, I just love our family. I just love this community. I'm just speaking as a human being and a client and a coach. Just, when I hear things like that, it just makes me realize, just how wonderful it is to be in here. Thank you so much for that, Emily. What a huge transformation. So let's do a little poll right here in regards to that, the wheel that we were talking about. This is your opportunity to kind of look at which area of this trilogy of optimal health would you like to improve. Now, don't answer that. I didn't say what you think you should improve. I'm saying, what would you like to improve? We like to talk about what we want and what we want that matters most. So go ahead and just chime in there as we move into the next sector of this. Now, here's the process of becoming a coach is an organic one, but here's just a reality check. And this actually plays a pretty big role in your health transformation. Guess what's going to happen when you start getting healthy in a world that's full of unhealthy people, especially during these times? People are going to notice. People are going to notice. People are going to ask you, hey, what are you doing? I couldn't believe how many people noticed me. I didn't know, I didn't think about that. I mean, I was doing it for my children and stuff, but I didn't know that I was soon to become a walking billboard for transformation. So, when people notice, you're going to have 2 choices to make in that opportunity. And we actually hope that, you'll see through that, referring someone to your coach is the right avenue to do that, because that's where the sweet spot is. Or like so many of us, like the people that you've heard share and myself and the next one that's going to share, you can decide to pay it forward and help other people. And if you think about it, think about where that's going to put you in your health journey. When I became a coach, all of a sudden, a lot of things changed in my life, right? So here are the poll results. just to give you a little bit of an insight as to where most people are standing. Isn't that interesting, right? Isn't that interesting for anybody that thought that this was just maybe a weight loss program or even just a health program? It's interesting to look when you're asked what areas of your life, because we typically don't look at those. So thank you so much for interacting. But let's talk a little bit about the benefits of becoming an independent OPTAVIA coach or paying it forward, right? That's what I actually decided to do. Is I wanted to, like the guest just that shared, I wanted to give this away to other people. I kind of feel like that's a moral obligation of human beings. When you find the source of water in a thirsty world, you tell people. So it's going to help you reinforce your decision to be healthy. There's an accountability boost when you start helping other people. It's kind of like me as a parent. Pay it forward to make a difference. You know, I think, what is it that we really, really want? I have this theory that you're never going to have enough money in life, right? But what we really want is significance. We want to matter, and we want to help enrich other people's lives. And you know what? It's fun and rewarding. It is super fun to hear these people sharing. Just think, you think it's fun to get healthy? Wait until you see what it's like to play a role in helping somebody else get healthy. And guess what? We get paid. There's a compensation for it. There's different types of compensation in the world. You know, when I say the word compensation, it doesn't have to mean making money, because there's the currency of goodwill. I love playing a role in helping others that are struggling rise up and get what they want. And also, it's real nice when you have the opportunity, you know, as a side hustle or something that you want to pursue to fulfill financial needs and goals. Guess what? As a doctor, I mean, I'm just going to come clean with you. I did pretty well as a doctor, but I didn't do really well in life, right? I was living check to check, making a lot of money because I had a lifestyle that was in chaos. And also, just imagine this idea of leaving a legacy, all these people that you're helping. Just an amazing opportunity to become a coach. So I want to, in that space, this is a really special treat. Very close friend of mine, client, coach, fellow partner, fellow chiropractor. Well, we used to be chiropractors, but Dr. Chris Puglisi, also an independent certified OPTAVIA coach. She's going to give you a really interesting perspective about the coaching component of this, because her story is very unique and I just love her to pieces. Dr. Chris, if you could come on out here and share with us.
Thank you so much, JC. It's such an honor to get to share my story tonight with all of you. I'm going to take you back a handful of years ago. I was that person that, from as long as I can remember, I think I've always been incredibly just passionate about health and wellness. And I knew to some degree that when I moved into a career field that I wanted to help people. I wanted to be in a role of service to others. And so naturally that led me into chiropractic. And I invested a lot of time and money and energy into getting my degree. And then I jumped into solo practice after. And a couple years into practice, and I was so excited when I first started practice. You know, I was really ready to make that impact in other people's lives. And when I started practice, a couple years into that, I had experienced a wrist injury. And that just rocked my world in the worst way possible. Reality hit in an instant. And something that I thought was my path in life that I had chose, this path in chiropractic, which relies so heavily on a healthy body, was starting to be jeopardized, and my livelihood was starting to get jeopardized. So just enter in this insane amount of stress and anxiety and worry and fear. And if I'm being honest, I had a really hard time accepting that in the beginning. But I realized that I had to pivot. I needed to adapt to the situation that I was in. So when I looked at this idea of coaching, it was a new idea to me, but it also made sense, especially just with my background and what I was truly passionate about. So I did my research. You know, I really kind of looked under the hood of OPTAVIA, and what I saw was just how comprehensive in nature this program truly was. And it checked off all the boxes of what I knew as a doctor somebody truly needed to be able to make the long-term sustainable changes in their health. So when I came to OPTAVIA, I was already at a healthy weight, but I tried the program anyways because I really wanted to experience it. And I felt incredible. You know, I learned a ton about my health, and I learned a lot about myself too at the same time through the life book. And that's the beautiful thing, is that a lot of people might come into OPTAVIA with that first phase of weight loss, but this program is way beyond that. This program helps you to truly create health for your life, optimal health and well-being. And so what I also found by experiencing the program was it was easy, it was simple, and I could see how it would be effective for others. And so naturally, I wanted that solution for my patients. I wanted that solution for my friends and family. So I dove into coaching. And so as I started seeing that business build, it was really interesting that I started noticing I was dreaming again. I think that just as adults, we hit this phase in our life where we've either been like knocked down enough times, or just challenges and obstacles are always facing us that we just forget to dream. And I noticed that my mind started transforming, and I started asking myself these questions like, what do I want in life? How do I want to live my life? What do I really want? And what truly matters to me? How can I live a life around what matters most to me? So the idea of working from home or virtually, or being able to work from wherever, because I love to travel, was really enticing to me. I loved that because I love spending time with the man of my dreams, and we love being able to wake up and go for a hike if we want to, or, if it's a beautiful day in the afternoon, to go kayaking. And we just love having that freedom, and it enriches our lives being able to spend time together. And that's very, very important to me. The thing that I want to make sure I'm doing is making my time count while I have it here on earth. And the old model of the way that I used to live my life wasn't really conducive to that. I wasn't in control of my time. And so if there's anything that OPTAVIA has taught me, it's also that the obstacle is the way. And I experienced another challenge last year. It's almost hard for me to explain how much I appreciate this community and the support that I found within OPTAVIA, especially my mentorship team. About a year ago, I suffered from a really nasty concussion to the point where I could barely talk. Day-to-day functioning was extremely challenging for me in the beginning. And enter in that same stress, anxiety, worry, fear. But this time I wasn't alone. I had a support team to really help me, and they stepped up to the plate. They helped me in my business when I wasn't able to. And honestly, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today if I didn't have their support. One of the things that I love about coaching is you are the CEO of your own business, but you're not doing business by yourself. You have amazing support and mentorship. And I definitely did not have that level of support when I was in solo practice for myself. So, when I became a doctor, I wanted to change the world. I think we all have that within us. And what I found through coaching is that I have never been able to make such an impact on such a deep level in people's lives and in their health than I have with this program and with OPTAVIA. And for that, I am so grateful. I'm here talking tonight with you all about this concept of healthy finances. And I'm realizing now that it kind of means something different to me than it used to mean. And to me, it just means that I can make money the way that I want to, in a way that enriches my life with purpose and meaning, and also gives me the freedom to spend my time doing the things that I want to do. OPTAVIA has given me just this flexibility to live my life the way that I want to on my terms, and I'm just incredibly grateful for that. So thank you so much for allowing me to share a little bit about my story.
Real life stories of people that, it's fun. As a coach, we actually walk these paths with these people. And like I said before, it's just so enriching. So just quickly, our progressive growth model for our business, just a couple of things on that. OPTAVIA coaches move through what you see, these 3 competencies here. You learn one competency, and then you choose to move on to the next one. So just as a quick example, our coaches are people that acquire and support clients. That's how it started, pay it forward. In addition to acquiring and supporting clients, a business coach actually acquires and works with coaches to teach them how to be successful. That's really exciting. On many, many levels. And then we even have the level of business leader who works with clients, right? Still works with clients and builds teams of coaches and business coaches. So the degree of compensation is actually going to follow these skill sets and the level of activity, but it's a relational model, meaning people come first, right? And that's what's important. This is about people And there's just this whole organic process of win-wins going on all over the place. And I just feel so blessed 14 years into this. So let's just look at some quick action steps as we wrap up. And it's just so good to have everybody here tonight. I'm so excited for all of you. Like, did you wake up ready this morning? You know, did you wake up like these stories? And is today your born on day? Is today the day that you want to become the dominant force in your life? Well, reach out to the person who invited you to this Health and Hope night. Make the decision, because you know how now, right? Make the decision to incorporate this trilogy of optimal health, however you found it, to help you reach your goals. And then I just invite you to jump all into OPTAVIA and what it has to offer. So it's been my privilege to be here, and we hope that you'll consider joining our OPTAVIA mission, lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time, and help the world create health and well-being. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, and thanks for stepping away from your family and being here. I hope it was valuable.
At OPTAVIA, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The previous audio contained the personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the OPTAVIA community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope these stories inspire you to continue your journey with or join OPTAVIA, but please note that they have not been verified and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider or doctor prior to beginning your journey with OPTAVIA. Additionally, this audio may have contained income or earnings representations of some independent OPTAVIA coaches. The stories shared reflect the unique experience of a very small percentage of OPTAVIA coaches and should not be relied upon by prospective or current OPTAVIA coaches as an indication of what they should expect to earn. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with OPTAVIA results from successful sales efforts which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. OPTAVIA acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to OPTAVIA coaches in the U.S., Hong Kong, and Singapore. For OPTAVIA coaches operating in the U.S., please see the OPTAVIA Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual earnings of U.S. coaches under the U.S. Compensation Plan. Please note that the Income Disclosure Statement only applies to independent OPTAVIA coaches operating in the U.S. under the U.S. Compensation Plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan.